Caves can attract us with an air of mystery. We aren't sure what's inside, and the adventure of the unknown makes some of us want to forge into the darkness and find out exactly where it leads. Caves are home to countless different animals as well as lost artifacts from eras long gone. They can be a fun place to explore to find something interesting. Sometimes, though, they can lead us to an even darker discovery. On August 26, 1979, a family was exploring caves near Dubois, Idaho. They were looking for arrowheads to add to their collection. Idaho was once home to at least half a dozen Native American tribes, and reminders of their existence can be found all over the wide open spaces. That day, they entered a cave and were shocked to find a human torso inside. It was wrapped in a burlap sack, and the body was wearing a pinstriped shirt, a maroon sweater, and dark pants. Authorities investigated, but with nothing else to go on, the case quickly went cold. On March 30th, 1991, a young woman exploring the same cave system found a mummified hand. Investigators began excavating inside the cave and found an arm and 2 legs nearby, both wrapped in burlap. Eventually, experts from Idaho State University, the Smithsonian Institute, and the FBI tried to identify the body, but with no head, they were unsuccessful. At the end of 2019, the Clark County Sheriff's Department reached out to the DNA Doe Project for help with the identification. The DNA Doe Project is a non-profit organization that uses genetic genealogy to identify John and Jane Does. Their website states, "We are an all-volunteer organization that has attracted some of the best genetic genealogists in the industry, all working towards the common goal of reuniting John and Jane Does with their families. They have identified countless John and Jane Does, including Belle in the Well and one of John Wayne Gacy's previously unidentified victims." The DNA Doe Project used DNA from the remains to build a genealogical tree, which they said was huge because the family had roots in polygamy. When they narrowed down the results to a possible candidate, they checked records and found that that person had a cenotaph at the Payson City Cemetery in Payson, Utah. A cenotaph is an empty tomb or monument erected for someone whose body is located somewhere else. They tracked down the person who would be the grandson of the victim, and he agreed to give a DNA sample. The sample matched, and the remains were positively identified as belonging to Joseph Henry Loveless. Joseph Henry Loveless was born on December 3, 1870, in Payson, the Utah Territory. His parents, Joseph Jackson Loveless and Sarah Jane Skiggins, were part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and had moved with the church when they migrated west. On October 3, 1899, Joseph married Harriet Savage, who went by Hattie, in Salt Lake City, Utah, and the two had a daughter together. Joseph didn't seem to like an honest day's pay, and he became a bootlegger and counterfeiter. He was in and out of jail, managing to escape multiple times. Within a few years, Joseph had disappeared, and when Hattie hadn't seen him by October of 1903, she filed for divorce, citing abandonment and failure to provide for her and their daughter. The divorce was granted in May of 1904. Joseph had moved to Idaho, where he married Agnes Caldwell, and the couple had 4 children between 1906 and 1913. In 1914, he was arrested again for bootlegging and counterfeiting and sent to jail. Joseph kept a saw blade in his boot and used it to escape from the clink once again. In 1916, it was reported that Joseph was being escorted on a train to jail when he managed to stop the train and escape, but he was quickly recaptured. He was brought to jail where he managed to escape that time as well. On May 5, 1916, Agnes was murdered with an axe by a man who called himself Charles Smith. Soon, the man was arrested and it was revealed that Charles Smith was in fact Joseph. He also used the names Walter Currens and Walter Cairns. At Agnes's funeral, one of the children is quoted as having said, "Papa never stayed in jail very long and he'll soon be out." It turned out that kid was right. Soon, Joseph used his trusty saw to break out of the St. Anthony prison and disappeared. After that, Joseph's whereabouts were unknown, but it's believed that he was killed soon after. The wanted poster the sheriffs had released described him wearing the same clothes his remains were found in. This led investigators to believe that Joseph was murdered before he had time to change his clothes. His killer dismembered his body and hid it in a cave in Clark County, Idaho. There, he remained for 63 years until the first part of his body was discovered in 1979, followed by the second discovery in 1991. Since then, though the remains have finally been identified, his murderer has remained a mystery. It will likely never be known who killed Joseph Henry Loveless. When you're out on an adventure and you see a cave, you might be drawn inside to explore what treasures it might be hiding. Just keep your eyes open, because you might uncover something more sinister than you were expecting. Thanks for letting us tell you this sinister story. If you enjoyed it, subscribe on whatever platform you're on and hit like, rate it, or leave a comment. Join us next week where we'll take you somewhere sinister.